Thank you for staying with us on Village Square Africa. Now for starters, what is the Rwanda immigration plan? So this plan was announced in April 2022 by then Prime Minister Boris Johnson to dissuade asylum seekers from journeying all the way to the UK across the English Channel, especially with dangerous methods like inflatable boats. Under the scheme, those who have arrived in Britain without documents since January 1st, 2022 would have been deported to Rwanda, where their claims will be assessed. So it's more like Rwanda will be the checkpoint. The scheme, which Sunak and his Conservative Party have pushed, highlighted the growing number of people arriving in Britain using boats had faced legal challenges since it was announced. And according to them, they are trying to save lives as well as checkmate the number of people coming in and, just put everything into perspective. Now, the UK Supreme Court has ruled against it, saying that it is unlawful and given reasons like potential of human rights abuses in Rwanda, or the refugees might even, be sent home back to their countries. Well, this is Village Square Africa, and we will be talking about this issue today. Joining our gathering, first we have Nassasira Mark, an African Affairs Analyst in Uganda. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We also have Mawuli Dake, the CEO, the Africa Group Consult in New York. Thank you, Mawuli, for joining us as well.
Great to be part of the conversation.
A pleasure. And last but not the least, we have Ernest Iyagi, a Program Officer for Migration and Climate Change, Africa Youth Growth Foundation. Thank you, Ernest, as well, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about the Rwanda immigration plans to start with. Mark, what are the underlying motivations behind the immigration plan in the first place? We can only assume that the reason they did that or said that they were going to put that plan into motion is to, prevent people from harming themselves by using dangerous means to get to the UK. But what exactly is the motive behind the Rwanda immigration plan?
You know very well that in Europe now, the nationalist movements are taking shape and becoming more dominant. The voices of nationalism and, of course, the Brexit that happened speaks more that the nations, especially in Europe, are moving into a nationalistic approach of doing things. So, Rishi Sunak, and that, of course, the deal was hatched by Boris Johnson, was playing into those sentiments of the people, trying to create that the whole feeling of the nation being dominated by people coming in and the sentiments against refugees and all that. So the deal was hatched. It's a political deal, really, that was hatched to fit into the sentiments of the people, the British people that were looking at how to reduce the number of people that were coming into their nation. And the best way to do it was to make sure that there is a third country that is created in which these people are held while their asylum claims are being processed.
All right. Mawuli, over to you. Now, this Rwanda immigration plan basically is about sending people who have not been assessed yet, who are coming into the UK legally, to Rwanda first, where their matters will be checked or assessed or whatever. Well, what measures were proposed to ensure that these people being sent to Rwanda will be safe and their well-being will be, they will be looked after when they get to Rwanda, especially considering the fears of human rights violation in Rwanda?
Yes, I don't really think that the conversation should start from Rwanda's human rights record. The conversation should start from the fundamental issues. And some of us have insisted from the very beginning that this policy was unquestionable, violated international law, and was against the rights of people seeking help. It violates international law in many ways because the program as proposed violates the fundamental principles that protect the rights of asylum seekers, of refugees. The first one of which is that they have a right to seek asylum, and in doing so, they are entitled to certain protections under international law. And this policy clearly kind of just overlooked that. And the other fundamental issue is what is happening in the UK and parts of Europe, where they are deciding to selectively choose what categories of people they will allow into their country and who they will not. So clearly, it's a discriminatory policy. But the fundamental point I want to make is that the policy, as we've said from the beginning, is unquestionable. It violates international law and it is against the rights of asylum seekers. And that is the basis for which we opposed it. And I agree with the Supreme Court decision largely, even though I disagree with some of the reasons he preferred on the side of Rwanda.
Right. Okay, thank you, Mawuli, for that. Now, Ernest, now that we know what the Rwanda immigration plans are, and we know that the Supreme Court has said that this is unlawful, how exactly does this ruling of the UK Supreme Court challenge the legality and the ethics of the plan in general?
All right. I can tell you that at least we thank God that the UK court still has some elements of humanity and empathy with it for her timely intervention to probably mitigate on this issue. How on earth does a responsible and responsive government initiate such a discourse in the first place? It's a blow on Prime Minister Rishi, his government, and every other policies around this decision. It's really, for me, it is against humanity to begin to think of this kind of policy, considering the level of troubles that humanity is facing at this moment. Then where is our sense of this empathy? Firstly, it encouraged the people, it completely discouraged people crossing the English Channel to the UK. And it went further to then put up policies that undermines the rights of migrants to move from one place to another. Then my question is this: what does it stand to gain? Why this policy? Who is these policies targeted at? I can tell you from all available evidence that these policies are just targeted at those countries or those third world nations who probably have economic issues, security issues, political issues in their country, looking for a way to sieve them out of the system. And we say no to this. We advocate against this, and we really appreciate the rulings of the courts to say that this is illegal, this is unlawful. It undermines the common principles, conventions of the United Nations that guarantees the rights of individuals first as humanity to move from one place to another. It undermines the rights of these individuals who seek asylum or whatever it is, or a refuge in their country. It undermines their rights as humans. It undermines their rights to move from one place to another. So therefore, we appreciate the rulings of the court, even if we still do not agree completely with everything that the court has said. But on this aspect, the court has done well, and we give it to them.
Right. Now, Mark, looking at what has been placed, on the table, looking at Rishi Sunak and his Conservative Party pushing for this, immigration plan, would we say that this has put a dent or a question mark on the minds of people regarding Rishi Sunak and his Conservative Party as to whether or not he knows what he's doing?
I don't think that people who are awake to the challenges or the operations of the British government would be really surprised by some of these bills that are being done, because this is the nation that championed imperialism, and even up to now champions imperialism. The problem of refugees in Europe is the creation spread by the British government and their foreign policy and their involvement in countries and all the actions that they have taken in the past. So we largely have a problem of refugees, the refugee influx in Britain, in Europe, because of first the problem that was created in Libya, and all these other problems that have been created in these other countries. Of course, imperialism that ravaged and, raped, for lack of a better word, the other countries and took all the resources. So no, I don't think that we would be surprised by some of these actions taken by the British government. And it's bigger than Rishi Sunak. You have to remember that this bill was entered into at first by Boris Johnson. So Rishi Sunak is only playing along with what the British government and the principles that are. It's not really about him. But of course, he has come out to say that they will find a way of how to deal with this problem, and they will still go ahead with this plan. So it is, of course, an indictment on his government, and the court has squarely said. But I think it is more important. What is more important in this question is his response to the court ruling rather than the whole deal, because the whole deal is the establishment, that's the construction of the British government.
Okay, now still staying with you, Mark, you did mention his response to the court ruling. How is it taking it?
Of course, they have said that the court should not have ruled the way they did. He has said they really have prepared and have gone through the possible outcome, and they probably expected that this would come, and they've said they're going to find a way around it. Of course, one of the things is to declare Rwanda a safe haven, because in the ruling, Rwanda was declared one of those unsafe places to take people back to, because of the refoulement principle that Rwanda, is not safe. And so they've said they're going to make a law to make sure that Rwanda is declared a safe state, and they're going to make sure that they still have a way to go around this ruling by the Supreme Court to have this deal going through. So they are benevolent and they want to have this deal going.
Right. Now, Mawuli, how would you say that the UK can balance its immigration policies with its commitment to uphold human rights and humanitarian principles as well?
Well, several countries, including, I'm speaking from New York, including the US, and several other countries around the world have managed that through our history, where they are open to welcome those who need help, but also are able to both protect those coming as well as their own national interests. So this is not a rocket science. The problem is the agenda that the right-wing governments in these countries are pursuing. So first of all, even in the response that the Prime Minister gave to the court ruling, talking about passing a law to declare Rwanda safe for refugees, that is ridiculous. If the issues that they have raised are legitimate about the dangers that the policy posed to asylum seekers if sent to Rwanda are legitimate, merely passing a law in the UK to declare Rwanda safe, and I'm not saying that Rwanda is unsafe, but I'm saying that in the context that we are dealing with, for him to propose that as a solution is ridiculous. And they are still pursuing this wrong-headed approach. It is possible for them to balance, to recognize, and I always say that this refugee asylum seekers situation is first and foremost a humanitarian issue, and it must be approached as such, with consideration to the many other important considerations like security, national interests, and the economics of it. But first and foremost, it is a humanitarian issue. And if leaders have this recognition and approach it as such, there are some of these decisions that they won't take. He also talked about stopping the boats, which again is another violation and wrong-headed policy, because you are not interested in addressing the reasons why people are headed to your country, and you are not recognizing your responsibility to welcome those and to give them the needed support as required. And that there's a reason why international law and even their own domestic laws make provisions for the protection of those in need. So I think that it is not impossible to balance the two. It is possible, and it just requires the right leadership with the right approach.
All right, very well said. Thank you so much for that, Mawuli. Now, Ernest, now that we've talked about the immigration plan and how it is not exactly, the right way to go, what alternatives to the Rwanda immigration plan have been proposed or discussed or considered? Because there are still perks of the plan. So what alternatives are there?
I can tell you from here that the UK is head bent on this move. But thanks to God and to the UK Supreme Court for their timely intervention. All eyes are on Sunak and his government and the entire government of the United Kingdom. As far as I'm concerned, we can't see any alternative for now. Allow humans be, allow the peace as we have experienced in the past to pass by. Rwanda, we are not saying is not safe for people to migrate. We are not saying that Rwanda is not doing well economically or politically. But all what we are saying is that this move is first of all anti-migration rights, is anti-humanity, is anti-human existence. And therefore, we advocate that whatever alternative that we are still yet to know or they are yet to let us know, we advocate that peace must be still, that we should allow this issue to first of all have a little bit of rest, while the world and the globe at large put heads together and begin to think of a better alternative, to begin to send these people away and sending them to Rwanda. They don't told you that Rwanda is safe. Who told you that Rwanda is the best place to send them to? Who told you that the economy of Rwanda can actually accommodate these people? Then, talking about alternative, as far as we are concerned from here, we can't see a better alternative for now. Allow the free movement of people from one place to another to be. It is a right of every human to move from one place to another legally or regularly. So the discussion, the issue should be around irregular migration. It should be around people who are in UK maybe for the wrong reasons, or who are in the UK illegally, or who are in the UK without the requisite documentation and all of that. So not to begin to bring up policies that could probably mitigate or probably stand in the way of a free movement of persons from one place to another.
All right. On this note, I want to say thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time with us on the show. Thank you so much, Nassasira Mark, African Affairs Analyst in Uganda. Also, a big thank you to Mawuli Dake, the CEO of the African Group Consuls in New York. And last but not the least, thank you so much to Ernest Iyagi, Program Officer for the Migration and Climate Change Africa Youth Growth Foundation, for shining more light on the issue at hand. Thank you for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.